So, welcome to another Dante work walkthrough. This time we're dealing with Canto 2 of the Inferno. Now, I had made an error in the previous walkthrough where I indicated that Canto 1 was the only period where Dante and Virgil were still on Earth, and the rest of the 33 cantos of the Inferno were in the imagined world of the Inferno. In fact, Canto 2, they are also still within the real world. They have not yet entered into Hell's Gate, as it were. But so apologies for that. Just in relation to these two entry cantos, I thought I might read a little bit from one of the commentaries. I quite like the translation and commentaries that Robert Holland has done, and he made some comments about how the introductory cantos should be seen. So he's saying, against a common opinion that the first two cantos perform separate functions. Number one is a prologue to the poem as a whole. Number two, a prologue to the first cantica, that is to Inferno. In actuality, all three cantica begin with two canto-long prologues containing an invocation, some narrated action, and the presentation of details that prepare the reader for what is to follow further along in the poem, or in that particular cantica. So with that background, just a bit of a summary of what's ahead. Initially, Dante starts with an invocation to the Muses. He's really expressing a lot of misgivings he has, and expresses this to Virgil. In effect, saying that he's not St. Peter or Aeneas, who are both, people who've travelled to other worlds. Virgil encourages Dante sort of to give him heart and to have the stomach to take on the journey, and points out that really this whole affair's been propelled and guided by three sainted, blessed women. We've got Beatrice, the actual Madonna, the Virgin Mary, and Santa Lucia, and they have together called on Virgil to provide assistance to Dante on this journey. And there's this thing about the circle of these three women is quite it echoes throughout this whole canto. There's a lovely passage that Beatrice announces or uses in the poem in this particular canto, which we'll cover and draw attention to. In any case, Dante, through Virgil, encouragement, re-encourages himself, and his doubts dissolve. And again, there's another lovely terzina, which is the analogy of flowers arising after their nighttime cold and coming up to face the sun. So Dante agrees to follow Virgil. I'll follow you, my leader, my lord, my master. And I think it's worth noting at this point that it really was an outrageously bold idea, when you think about it, to even imagine that three celestial blessed people in the personages of the actual Madonna, Santa Lucia, and Beatrice would even worry themselves or care about this particular person's problems, concerns that they're undergoing, to the point where they would actually intervene. And that lovely terzina, those lovely words from Beatrice, where she says, I am Beatrice, I'm the one who asks you to do this, and then ends, Io son Beatrice che ti faccio andare. I'm Beatrice who makes you take this journey. And the third line, Amor mi mosse che mi fa parlare. It's love that moves me, that makes me speak. There's an echo, an absolutely identifiable echo here with the Amor mi mosse to the very last line of the Commedia, which I'll leave it to you guys to go and have a look at. But there's a tying together, like bookends, between what Beatrice says here and what Dante says in the very closing line of the entire poem. The canto opens with the terzina. The day was closing. The darkening air released Earth's creatures from their labours, and I alone. And then we have that jump to the second terzina, so it really breaks that last line. But Lo giorno se n'andava, the day was going, e l'aria bruna, toglieva gli animali che sono in terra, and the air, dark, released those animali, or creatures really, it's all creatures, including mankind, who are in earth, from their labours, delle fatiche loro. E io sol uno, and I, just one. M'apparecchiava a sostenere la guerra. I, just one, prepared to face the battle, both of the journey and its pity, which my unerring memory will relate. So, a sostenere la guerra, si del cammino e si della pietate, del cammino of the journey and of the pity. This is the pity of those in the Inferno. Che ritrarrà la mente che non erra, that my unerring memory will relate correctly. So his memory will now faithfully retrace those real events of the journey exactly as they took place. So what's quite surprising here, very very evident, is that this journey to the three realms, it's not represented as a dream. It's not represented as having been a dream, but as having been experienced, but as something that really happened. So it's really now the poet Dante's quite striking task to go back in his mind over all those things that have happened and put them down for us, the reader. So there's an invocation now to the Muses. O Muses, O high ingenuity, help me now. O Muse, O alto ingegno, ora m'aiutate. O my memory, write down all I saw. O mente, che scrivesti ciò ch'io vidi. For this will show your true greatness. Qui si parrà la tua nobilitate. So the invocation is really in sort of the epic style that we would have seen in Virgil's Aeneid, and it's also present in other cantiche of the Commedia. The alto ingegno is really the poet's own genius, his virtue, his virtu as a poet, and the Muses are asked to invoke to give that inspiration. This is a fairly traditional approach to this sort of writing. The mente che scrivesti is really a metaphor for the book of memory, which is a sort of form of language that Dante's used through his other poetry in the Vita Nuova, and it's used fairly consistently throughout the Commedia. But really, here the difference is that throughout the Commedia, when it's used, it's the poet speaking of himself as the scribe. But here, in this form of words in the Inferno, it's actually the memory itself that's writing down what the poet saw. So it's sort of detached from the poet in a way. I think this is done early on in the whole work to try, to lay the groundwork for the reader to reinforce that, hey, this really did happen. It's not me, the poet. It's actually my memory's taken over from me, and it's writing down what happened. So it really is the truth. I began. Poet who guides me. Io cominciai. Poeta che mi guidi. Examine my powers if they suffice before you entrust me to that high road. Guarda la mia virtù, s'elle possente, prima che all'alto passo tu mi fidi. So l'alto passo is the deep way, or that path ahead, and echoes with la guerra del camino that we saw back in verse 4, line 4 of this canto. And the word, using the word passo, gives a connotation of passing or crossing into, and it also echoes back with Canto 1, where remember we said that there was that line, lo passo che non lasciai giammai persona viva, that pass that does not let a person leave alive. There's an echo here back to that. You said how Silvio's father. Tu dici che di Silvio il parente, though still mortal, went to those immortal places and went in the flesh. Corruttabile ancora, ad immortale secole andò, e fu sensibilmente. The Silvio mentioned here refers to the late-born son of Aeneas with Lavinia. So in saying Silvio's father, Silvio il Parente, he's really referring to Aeneas, and in particular Aeneas's journey to Hades to seek his father. The corruttabile ancora means corruptible still, or basically it means still mortal. And the immortale secolo, the immortal places, really the reverse would be the mortal secolo, or this world. So the immortale secolo refers to the other worlds, or these other places, be they Hades or paradise or somewhere other than Earth. And the words "e fu sensibilmente," the sensibilmente really means with the body, the senses of his body. So really, alive in the flesh. There's now really 15 lines, which seems a lot to me anyway, where Dante really talks around the fact that these people, he's referring to Aeneas, and then later he refers to the founder of Rome, St. Peter, who effectively been helped or guided Aeneas to found Rome, and to found Rome in the earthly sense, and St. Peter, the Church of Rome, as it were. But he takes quite a while to get through these particular lines before arriving at a point where he says, but why me? I'm not really of that ilk. But that the enemy of all ill showed him favour, considering who he was and who his great issue would be. The him being in this case Aeneas, and the enemy of all ill being in this case presumably God. Se l'avversario di ogni male, the adversary of all evil, cortesia fu, showed him courtesy, pensando l'alto effetto che uscire dove di lui, thinking of the great effect of the issue of him, el chi el quale. This is these 4 or 5 words have troubled and kept the commentators busy for many centuries, how they're to be interpreted, but we've taken a fairly literal interpretation here. So he's really referring to, the devil actually showed Aeneas some courtesy because he knew who his great issue would be, and that is the founding, through his children, Romulus, would critical in the foundation of Rome. And, as he goes on to say, that it would not seem unreasonable to a person of intellect, ma non pare indegno ad uomo d'intelletto, che fu dall'alma Roma e di suo impero, nell'impiero cielo del Padre eletto, that it would not seem unreasonable to a person of intellect, that from the empyrean heights he was chosen to father Rome. Both created, should one speak truthfully, la quale e il quale, a voler dir lo vero, fu stabilito per lo loco santo. Both created, should one speak truthfully, to be the sacred place where successors of great St. Peter sit. Lo loco santo, u sede il successore del maggior Piero. So we've now flipped to talking about St. Paul's journey to heaven. So this relates a bit obliquely to a text known as the Visio Sancti Pauli, or the Apocalypse of St. Paul, where he relates a vision, a visit to heaven and to hell. So this part of the cantos, we talked about Aeneas and his journey. We're now flipping to talk about the other journey, Paul's journey. For this journey, for which you gave him glory, he heard things that were cause to his victory and to the papal mantle. Per quest'andata, for this going, onde li dai tu vanto, you've given him vantage, you've given him credit. In tes cose che furon cagion di sua vittoria e del papal amanto. So this, in tes cose che furon cagion, he heard things that were the cause of di sua vittoria, of his victory, e del papal amanto, and the papal mantle. And then Paul, the chosen vessel, went there to bring back the comfort of that faith. Andovi poi lovas meaning the vassal, lovas dell'elezione, per recarnar conforto a quella fede, to reincarnate comfort of that faith, which is the very beginning of our salvation, che principio alla via di salvazione. So, as I was saying, he's used these 15 lines and the examples of Aeneas's journey to Hades and Paul's journey effectively to heaven, and what they resulted in, to now parallel the request that's come via Virgil from the three blessed ladies to him, and how is he going to react to that? So look, just to re-emphasize again, I think I've mentioned that for Dante, the Roman Empire has special significance. He's viewed it as being, in a way, ordained by God as part of his overall plan for man's, salvation, redemption. It really was the foundation of the Roman Empire. It establishes, in a way, the order to prepare then the way for the church and for that to be established. So it's something, it's a theme that keeps recurring in the poem. So Dante's view of Rome, the Roman Empire, is quite different to what our modern view of it would be. He sees it as being something really quite special and quite, has connotations with God's overall providential plan, as it were. And now we've got Dante saying, "But me, why should I go there? Who permits it? I'm not Aeneas, I'm not St. Paul." And in the Italian we get three ios, me's. Ma io, perché venirvi? O chi lo concede? Or chi lo concede? Io non Enea, io non Paolo sono. Me degno a ciò né io né altri crede. Neither I nor others think I'm fit for this. So we've actually got four eos there, because there's another one on that last line, 33. And interestingly, just to continue the connotations, parallels with the Aeneid, I think it's in book 6, Aeneas, before he starts his journey into Hades, he also names two other people. He says, "Why speak of great Theseus? Why of Alcides?" So there's that similar parallel, just as Dante's spoken of Aeneas and Paul in the Aeneid. Aeneas has spoken of two other people as comparisons. So that if I allow myself to come, I fear that coming would be folly. Perché se del venir io m'abbandono, temo che la venuta non sia folle. That venire io m'abbandona is a nice form of words. If to the coming I abandon myself, I give in. You're smart, you can understand what I can't, Dante says to Virgil. Sei savio, you're sage. Intendi me ch'io non ragione, you can understand what I can't reason. And as one who undoes what he had willed, and thinking again changes his mind. E quale qui che disvuol ciò che vuole, e per nuovi pensieri cangia proposta, so that he abandons what he had set out to do, sì che dal cominciar tutto si toglie. So the disvuol ciò che vuole is literally that he unwills what he willed. So it's quite a nice couple of words there. So was I there on that dark slope. Tal mi feci in quella oscura costa, because with so much thought I'd unravelled the commitment that was so urgent at the start. Perché, pensando, consumai l'impresa che fu nel cominciar cotanto tosta. So the oscura costa, so costa can mean a slope or shore. It can have one of those meanings. And the oscura, the dark, because, well, it's night time, as the introduction to the canto indicated, but also the darkness can have a moral sense about it as well, this entry into the Inferno. So Virgil doesn't really beat about the bush, but gets right to the point here. If I have understood you correctly, replied the shadow of that noble shade, your spirit is consumed in cowardice. Se io ben la parola tu intesi, rispose del magnanimo quella ombra, l'anima tua è da viltade offesa, viltade being cowardice, which many a time engulfs a man and turns him from the honourable path. La qual molte fiate being like volte times, l'uomo ingombra, gets confused. Si che d'onorata impresa lo rivolve. So you get turned from that honourable path, just as a beast shies from a false shadow. Come falso vedere bestia quando ombra. To release you from this fear, I'll tell you why I came and what I heard when first I felt some grief for you. Da questa tema a ciò che tu ti solve, diroti perché io vieni e qual ch'io intesi. Nel primo punto che di te mi dolve, of you I grieved, of you I felt pity. I was among those who are suspended when a lady called me, she blessed and beautiful. Io era tra color che son sospesi, e donna mi chiamò, beata e bella, that I begged that she command me, tal che di comandar io la richiesi. So the sospesi, literally the suspended. So I'm amongst those suspended, which is really limbo here, which we'll learn a bit more about in the coming cantos. So this is the area where people have a relatively good existence, but they do not have the hope of ever seeing God. It's still part of hell, it's part of the first circle, but the sospesi nearly also indicates that it's sort of hanging a bit outside of hell, because it really isn't where the real nasty stuff happens. So Virgil's now talking about this lady who appeared to him, and he says, her eyes shone brighter than the stars, lucevano gli occhi suoi più che le stelle, and she began to speak sweetly and clearly, and an angelic voice in her telling. E cominciami a dire suave e piana, con angelica voce in sua favela. The suave e piana are both relate to the sound of her voice. So the lady begins, O courteous mantua in spirit, O anima cortese mantuana, whose fame still endures in the world, and will continue while the world endures. Di cui la fama ancora nel mondo dura, e durerà quanto il mondo lontana. So these opening three lines are a fairly recognised model of what's called captiato benevolentiate, or it's a type of speech where you're trying to gain the goodwill of another, and there'll be several of these through the Inferno where the damned individually will make appeals to Dante and Virgil to have their memory remembered in a positive way up on earth. So, as it were, that's their only hope of some type of immortality. This friend of mine, but not of Lady Fortune, is so impeded on this desert slope that he turns away in fear from the path. L'amico mio, e non della ventura, avventura, like venture being good venture, or Lady Fortune, nella deserta piaggia, è impedito sì nel cammino che volte è per paura. That la volte è per paura is the jump, or the jump away based on fear from the camino, from the walk. And she continues, and I fear that if he is not already blinded from what I've heard in heaven, I may have arisen too late to come to his aid. E temo che non sia già smarrito, there's that word again, che io mi sia tardi al soccorso levato, to the help raise myself, urge myself, per quel che ho di lui nel cielo udito, for what I've heard in heaven. So it's a bit of a roundabout Terzina, but it's quite nice the way it all comes together. So she comes to the point now. It says, so now move with your ornate words, and whatever skills you have to save him, help him, so I may be consoled. Ora muovi, e con la tua parola ornata, e con ciò che mestieri al suo campare, l'aiuta, sì chi ne sia consolata. So I like that or movi, because it's going to bounce off the next terzina, which is going to have a form of the word move with mosse, amore mi mosse. And here we start with or movi, so get moving. To Virgil, use your skills to help him, so that I may be consoled. And here we've got this really beautiful terzina that's reverberates through the poem. Really, I am Beatrice, who asks this of you. Io son Beatrice che ti faccio andare, that actually I make you go. I come from a place where I truly desire to return. Vengo del loco ove tornare desio. Love has moved me, and love makes me speak. Amore mi mosse, che mi fa parlare. So we haven't really spoken about Beatrice. So in people who may not be aware, who is Beatrice? Is she an imagined person? Well, in a sense, yes, but she was a real person, Beatrice Pontinari, who lived not far from where Dante lived. They grew up together. Dante first literally laid eyes on her at Beatrice's 9th birthday party that Dante was invited to. The families knew each other. And to say he was smitten is probably the wrong word, but there's something in the look and manner of Beatrice that from that moment, from a 9-year-old Dante, had never left him and sort of continued to grow. And it's whether there's a sexual tone to it, there probably is to some extent, but it's more a fascination with beauty. She married, her family arranged a marriage for her, and unfortunately died fairly young. I'm not sure if it was in childbirth or something of that nature. And Dante was absolutely grief-stricken. So there's been from when he's 9, and he wrote poems about her, and a lot of the Vita Nuova book of poetry and prose is dedicated to, or has Beatrice as the underlying character. But it's like this unattainable, complete emblem of goodness, not just beauty, physical beauty, but goodness, and something that points you to your better angels, as it were. You'd have to say that that there was really an obsession that Dante had for Beatrice, and both probably the person, but more what he imagined or what he created the person to represent in his own mind. Because to him, Beatrice represented the things that you do right, as it were, and how good, when you do right things, how good things turn out. So it's quite a complex. I think Freud would have an absolute field day. If you read further about this, there's quite a good book called Dante in Love. I can't recall the author that I've got in my collection, and it's well worth a read to understand a bit more about the background to this. Really, they really never had a relationship, barely a speaking relationship, but there was definitely some sort of psychological, relationship in Dante's mind with this personage. And it's Beatrice who is the guide who takes over from Virgil up in the upper reaches of purgatory. And just interestingly, it's one of those terzinas that you roll around in your head and you don't forget. When she appears, it's the 3 lines are sovra candido velo cinto d'olive, under a candid veil circled with olive leaves, the candid being white. Donna m'apparea, a woman appeared to me. Sovra manto verde, vestita di colore di fiamma viva. So, woman appears to him with a white veil, with olive wreath around the veil on her head, a green cloak, and vestita di fiamma viva, dressed with a dress of flaming red. So you've got white, you've got green, you've got red, and this is the actual derivation of the Italian flag. The flag was constructed out of this particular terzina, and what Beatrice looked like when she appeared to Dante and takes over from Virgil, and incidentally gives him a complete dressing down, but that's another story. So that's a lovely line, Donna m'apparea, a woman appeared to me. Also interesting, getting back to our original, where we're at, line 71, I came from a place where I truly desired to return. Vegno del loco ove tornare disio. This is quite interesting. I mean, you can imagine somebody being in heaven. How good is it? You can think of yourself in a state where you're really contented. Everything's gone right. You feel very happy with the world, with yourself. Multiply that feeling by at least 1,000,000, and you've probably come somewhere near the feeling or the experience of someone sitting up amongst the blessed in heaven. So to take yourself from that position to come down to this earth that we're on, this let alone earth, but just at the doorstep of the Inferno, you would truly have to agree that somewhere where you would really, I've come down, but gee, I really want to go back there as soon as I can. And this is a theme that reappears later in the Inferno when St. Michael, Archangel Michael, has to come down and help the guys out outside the gates of Dis, and he appears, really somewhat pissed off having to come down, and again, because he's leaving a place which is so desirable, to come down and sort out an issue here, in this case here in Inferno. So that line 72, it's such a powerful line. Amore mi mosse, just 3 words, but it's got a real resonance. And as I said earlier in the intro, it bounces right to the end of the commedia, the very last line, L'amore che muove il sole e l'altro stelle. You've got this same concept of movement. Here you've got amore mi mosse, and in the very last line of the commedia, you've got amore che muove, the sun, the love that moves the sun, the sun and other stars. So it's as if, Dante, we know he's a Christian, and this thing is a very, very strong theme, the Catholicism that runs throughout the Commedia and the Christianity. But it's nearly as if he's saying, well, actually, it's love that's the binding agent that works across the entire universe. And here right at the beginning of the poem is Beatrice saying, I really came down because it's love that moved me. Anyway, she goes on to say, when I shall be before my Lord, I will often sing your praises to him. Quando sarò dinanzi al Signor mio, di te mi loderò sovente a lui. She now fell silent, and Virgil began. Tacette allora e poi cominciò io. I've got to say that I don't quite understand what's going on here, because she's saying that she will sing Virgil's praises to the Lord. But I don't know that it's going to do him a lot of good, because we know that Virgil is effectively condemned to limbo. He's condemned to not be saved. So there's sort of a bit of a conundrum in my mind, although I haven't picked anything up relating to this in the commentaries that I've seen. And Virgil begins, O virtuous lady, that by this trait alone humankind may surpass all that is within. O donna di virtù, sola per cui l'umana specie ecceda ogni contento. So humankind may surpass all that is within the smallest part of heaven. Ogni contento, di quel ciel che minor ricerchi suoi. Some of the commentators see these as words of recognition to Beatrice that are quite important as the first focus on her allegorical meaning, which sort of relates to what I was saying about Beatrice and the way that Dante regarded her less as a human being in a way, and more of as a symbol for something. I'm so pleased by your request that if already obeying it, it would be too late. You have but to let me know your desire. Tanto m'aggrada il tuo comandamento, che l'ubbidir, se già fosse, me tardi. Più non te io che aprirmi il tuo talento. You have nothing more than to open your desire, talento. Virgil continues, but tell me why you care so little to come down to this central place. Ma dimmi la cagion che non ti guardi dello scendere qua giuso in questo centro. The term questo centro, this centre, this central place, is a fairly negative connotation, as it sort of comes from the well-established view that the Earth's position at the centre of the universe is the least noble in a way, because it's the furthest from God and his angels. So where hell is even further away because it's deeper within the Earth. So it's not in questo centro is not a positive thing in a way. So down to this central place, leaving that vast space you burn to return to. Giuso in questo centro dell'ampio loco ove tornare tu ardi. So again reflecting, ove tornare tu ardi, ardi, burning with ardour, you desire to return to. Now the l'ampio loco is considered the Imperium heaven, the upper reaches. So it's a very positive place to be in a sense. So Beatrice replies, since you wish to know so intently, I shall be brief. Da che tu vuoi saper cotanto addentro, diroti brevemente, mi rispose. She answered, perch'io non temo di venire qua entro, because I don't fear to come herein. One should fear those things that have the power to do some harm. Other things are not to be feared. Teme si dee di sole quelle cose ch'hanno potenza di fare altrui male. Dell'altre no, che non son paurose. Quelle cose che hanno potenza, those things that have power, di fare altrui male, to do more harm. The others che non sono paurose, they're not to be feared. I am made by God, by his mercy, such that your misery cannot touch me. Io son fatto da Dio, sua mercé, tal che la vostra miseria non mi tange. Like tinge doesn't tinge me. Or these flames in any way assail me. Ne fiamme desto, incedio non m'assale. They don't assail me. So Beatrice now goes on to explain the cascading order in which resulted in her coming to Virgil. So she says, there is a gracious lady in heaven who is so moved by his impediment that she breaks the stern judgment there and allows that I send you to assist. Donne gentil nel ciel che si compiange, that she cries. Di questo impedimento ove io ti mando, to this impediment that I send you to, sì che duro giudicio la suffrange, she breaks the stern judgment of something which would seem, not right to be done, even in heaven. So it becomes pretty clear later through the Commedia that, the Virgin Mary is viewed as our advocate in heaven. She intercedes between us and God to make, things possible. So the stern judgment is broken above, it really indicates that where she takes a position to advocate for somebody. So Beatrice continues. This she asked of Lucy and said, your faithful one now has need of you, and I commend him to you. So the Lucy we're talking of here is Santa Lucia. She being Saint Lucy or Santa Lucia of Syracuse. I think it was a third century martyr, virgin martyr, and regarded as she's the patron saint of those for eye problems. I think she had her eyes put out as part of the torture when she was martyred. It's even to this day, people, Italians, I remember my own mother looking for spectacles around the house. If she couldn't find it, would always be, Santa Lucia. So she's regarded as quite a friendly, quite a friendly saint, but it's always got this connotation around eyesight, illumination. And it might, here it might have this connotation with those suns rays that illuminated la spalla del colle that we saw in the first canto. So in Italian, questa chiesa Lucia in suo demando, this she asked of Lucy, this is what she asked. E disse, she said, ora bisogna il tuo fedele, your faithful one needs you, di te, e io a te lo raccomando, and I recommend him to you. So for Dante, would be very familiar with Santa Lucia. There were, I think, 2 churches that were dedicated to her in Florence alone. And probably to say, il tuo fedele, so the Madonna saying to Lucia, your faithful one. Probably Dante might have had a soft spot or a particular affinity for those churches, or St. Lucy in particular. So Beatrice continues, Lucia, enemy of every cruelty, rose up and came to the place where I was seated beside venerable Rachel. It's a lovely terzina in Italian. The first line, Lucia, nemica di ciascun crudele, si mosse e viene al loco dove io era, che mi sedea con l'antica Rachele, the ancient Rachel. So that first line, Lucia, nemica di ciascun crudele, enemy of any cruelty. And there's that si mosse, again, there's that repetition of mosse to give that sense of motion. So Lucia now says to Beatrice, seated beside Rachele, she said, Beatrice, you are truly in God's praise. Why not help the one who loved you so much, that for you he left the vulgar horde? So in Italian, disse, Beatrice, loda di Dio vera, che non soccorri quei che t'amo tanto, che uscì per te della volgara schiera. So the Loda di Dio vera sort of flows back to the Vita Nuova, the book of poems and prose that Dante wrote, where really Dante says that all who watch Beatrice, pass along, they praise God for her, because in her earthly life and now in her heavenly life, Beatrice is such a wonderful thing that she's in effect a living praise of the Creator. The che uscì per te della volgara schiera is sort of a reflection of the sort of courtly love poetry, where in a way the love's lifted because the love of for his his lady, the poet's lifted himself above the vulgar masses or whatever. So Lucia is continuing. She says, do you not hear the pity of his crying? Do you not see him battling death there on the flooded river that the sea cannot defeat? Non odi tu la pietà del suo pianto. You don't hear the pity of his cry. Ne vedi tu la morte che il combatte sulla fiumana ove la mar non avanto. That last line is a bit convoluted. Sulla fiumana ove la mar non avanto. It's like this river, essentially the same water we were talking about as the Pelago when we had that Tessina in Canto 1, where the person comes out of the Pelago to the riva and looks back at the danger they've just escaped. It's not a river that flows into the sea, hence the sea rightly can be said to have no advantage over it. So as I say, somewhat convoluted that line. We now get Beatrice's stream of thought, where she says, this world never saw anyone so quick to seek their good or escape their harm as I was after hearing these words. Al mondo non fur mai persona ratte. Ratte means rapid or quick. A fare lor pro o a fuggire lor danno. To make their pro their advantage or good or escape danger, as it were. Come io, dopo cotei parole fatte. Was I after these words had been said, or after I'd heard these words? So that, that I came down here from my holy seat, trusting in your honest speech that honours you and those who have heard it. Vieni qua giù dal mio beato scano, fidendomi del tuo parlare onesto, che onora te e qui che udito l'hanno, which honours you and those who hear it. So the Beato Scano is the holy place, the holy seat, where seated in heaven beside Rachele. A nice scene now where Virgil thinks and says, after she told me this, her eyes turned now shining with tears. That made me more eager to come to you, to come to Dante, to his aid. Poscia che m'ebbe ragionato questo, gli occhi lucenti lagrimando volse. So gli occhi lucenti, the shimmering eyes, lagrimando, crying with tears, volse, they turned that way. Perché mi fece del venire più presto, because it makes me want to come quicker. And so I came to you as she willed it, saving you from that beast that prevented you from the short passage to that lovely mount. E vieni a te, così come ella volse, so I came as she wished. Dinanzi a quella fiera, the fiera being the horror, ti levai, I remove you from in front of that horror. Che del bel monte il corto andare ti tolse. The bel monte corto is the beautiful mountain short, the short way, the mountain that Dante originally saw. Andare ti tolse, stopped you from going to. So now, why? Why do you hold back? Why have so much cowardice in your heart? Why not more ardour and frankness? Dunque, che è? Perché? Perché resti? Perché tanta viltà nel cor all'ette? Perché ardire e franchezza non hai? So Virgil really sort of gives it to him here, like you really got to pull yourself together, and face the challenge. Since you have 3 blessed ladies caring for you up in heaven's court, and my words promise you so much good. Poscia che te 3 donne benedette, curan di te nella corte del cielo. Il mio parlar tanto ben ti promette. My speak promises you so much. We now get a really probably the nicest terzino of the canto, one that's again one of those ones that always comes to mind. The analogy, simile of the little flowers that rise from a cold overnight when the sun hits them and they open up and they become straight, like little flowers from their night's chill, bent and closed, until the sun brightens them and they straighten themselves all open on their stems. Thus was I remade. Quali fioretti dal notturno gelo, chinati e chiusi, poiché il sol imbianca, si drizzon tutti aperti in loro stello. So there's a lovely picture there, the fioretti, they're little flowers, the notturno gelo, like the frosty night, and chinati e chiusi. Now chinati is, you would probably say inchinati, like inclined, but to keep his 11 syllable lines, because all these lines are what they call indicasyllabi, they're all 11 syllable lines. I think a study was done of the entire Commedia and something like 95, 98%, I can't recall the number, but vast majority are 11 syllable lines, and there's a few where they're either 10 or 12, but so maybe to save that extra syllable is just chop the in to chinati e chiusi, inclined and bent over. Poi che il sol imbianca, so we've got the sun again, imbianca, it's in whitening, it's whitening, the brightening and landing on these little flowers. Si drizzan, that they straighten themselves, tutti aperti in loro stello. You remember that word drizzan from Canto 26, where Dante leaning into, trying to remember what he saw in the Bolgia. Drizza la mente, he straightened his mind. So it's quite a nice word. So all open on their stems. Thus was I remade in my failing strength, with so much courage filling my failing heart, that I replied like a reborn person. In loro stello, tal mi fec'io di mia virtude stanca. That's a nice 2 words, a virtude stanca, a tired virtue. A tanto buon ardir al cor mi corse, ch'io cominciai come persona franca. So much ardour filled his heart that he started again like a fresh person. And now Dante, how compassionate was she to save me, and how courteous you to readily obey the truthful words she spoke to you. O pietosa colei che mi soccorse, e te, cortese, che ubbidisti tosto alla vera parola che ti porse. Again, quite a nice terzina, that one, with the end of line rhymes. Your words have turned my heart to desire for the journey. Tu m'hai con desiderio il cor disposto. You've disposed my heart to desire. Si al venir con le parole tue, which that's come with your words. That I've returned to my first intent. Chi son tornato nel primo proposto. I've come to the first proposal, which was to go the way that Virgil was indicating. So we come to the closing of the canto. Dante is reinvigorated, and we are this time ready to leave the world and enter the gates of hell. So let's go. One will propel us both. One will propels us both. Sorry. You, my leader, my lord, my master. Or va, cun sol voler ed ambedue, tu duca, tu señor et tu maestro. This I said to him, and when he moved on, I entered that deep and savage path. Così gli dissi, e poi che mosse fue, entrai per lo cammino alto e silvestro. The alto echoes back with what was said earlier about the alto passo, and you know, the adjective silvestro sort of rings a bell with la selva, selva silvestre, from the selva oscura. So this, you know, there's an echo back to where we first started in Canto 1. So just reading from one of the commentaries I found. In metaphor, then, the savage way, il camino silvestre, of hell corresponds to the dark wood, the selva oscura, of the sinful life or the lost life. The journey beyond always remains potentially our journey here. Not only through metaphor, but primarily through allegory, this transition is achieved. So that in the dimension of the literal journey through hell, the dimension of our own journey in our life is constantly recalled and further developed through the poem. So that marks the end of Canto 2, and we'll have a little bit of a wrap up in a second. I've got to say that this canto was more of a surprise for me than I had thought. I obviously had read it before, you know, didn't make as much of an impression as it has on this occasion, preparing to do the walkthrough. To me, it's a bit like it's quite explosive because it starts and it starts off quite fairly innocently and wends its way along. It's a bit like a fuse that's been lit and winds its way along through all those discussions about Aeneas and St Paul's journey and how I'm not worthy and this and that. But really, I think when it gets to that Teresina at line 70, where Beatrice says, you know, io son Beatrice che ti faccio andare, and you know, amor mi mosse che mi fa parlare. It was so powerful. It's really like an explosion because you've got this person who she's saying that love moved me to come and encourage Dante on this journey. But the funny thing is, when you think about the relationship between Dante and Beatrice, that Beatrice, you know, may have liked Dante as a friend or whatever, but she didn't love him. It was always the opposite way around. Now, this issue around Dante, you know, if we can say, absolutely, you know, sort of revered her and sort of philosophically had her on a pedestal, you know, and loved her deeply, you know, in his way. This will echo with the sentiment that comes out in Canto 5 when we meet Paolo and Francesca, when, or at least I think anyway, when there's that famous line, amor che nulla amato amare perdona, which roughly translates as anyone who receives love can't help but love back, even if it's just a tiny amount. So maybe what's happening here is maybe Beatrice in life may not have loved Dante, but Dante's love for her was so strong that the bounce back effect is such that, you know, she returned that love. So amor mi mosse, it's love that moved me. And I talked before about that parallel, that book ending to the very end of the Commedia, where you know it really places love as one of the central motivating aspects of the universe of life, etc. Dante himself exhibits very human characteristics. He's really quite afraid, and as Virgil points out, you know, mate, the real issue here is you're just a bit of a coward. You know, he puts his finger on it and cuts to the chase. That, you know, it's fear has really frozen you from taking any action. And then the drama that's related of how Virgil comes to be given the task is really quite astounding. You know, for someone in this era to write that, you know, I'd lost my way, or lost sight of the way, and you know, the Virgin Mary and Santa Lucia and Beatrice, all inhabiting heaven, they came to my aid. I mean, like, you know, what a gall to actually come up with that idea. You know, you can imagine the church being so powerful. You know, it could have brought a fairly wrathful response, but it obviously so touched people in the way it was written, and the, you know, sort of the believability of it in a sense that you know, people really took the story to heart. So we are now ready to make the journey. Canto 3 opens at the gates of hell, and we are definitely leaving the earthly realm. So look forward to doing that walkthrough with you, and as ever, if you have any comments, please leave them in the comment fields, and see you again next time. Bye.